Remarks of the President at a state dinner given in his honor. Palais de l'Élysée, Paris, France, May 31st, 1961.
President de Gaulle, ladies and gentlemen, it is naturally a great honor for any President of the United States to come to Paris. In this city in 1783, Benjamin Franklin signed the treaty which made us sovereign, independent, and equal. And in addition, it is not difficult for this President of the United States to come to France. I sleep in a French bed. In the morning, my breakfast is served by a French chef. I go to my office, and the bad news of the day is brought to me by my press secretary, Pierre Solinger, not in his native language, and I am married to a daughter of France. But I do not believe that sentiment is sufficient to explain the close relations which exist between the United States and France. There is no doubt that the early revolutionary leaders paid due tribute to France, George Washington and the others, for the role which France played in the independence of our country. But it is an interesting fact in history that John Adams, who was also a minister to France and a successor to General Washington, should want as his epitaph to be written, "He kept the peace with France." So changes the times. And where once General Washington and Mr. Adams paid tribute to France, Mr. Adams could claim as his great contribution that he did not engage in war with this country. So that sentiment and friendship which come and go are not sufficient to explain the enduring ties which exist between France and the United States. It is something more substantial. I live in a part of America which is the most eastern part, and I look across the ocean, and the nearest country I can see is France. It has been in this century a strong conviction of the presidents and the people of the United States that the security of my country would be directly threatened if France were not independent and strong and sovereign. And so, in this century, on two occasions, young men from my country have come to contribute to the maintenance of that independence and that sovereignty. And now, in the most difficult era in the life of our two countries, this next decade, I believe the ties should be even more intimate. Benjamin Franklin once wrote in his diary, Poor Richard's Almanac, about a snake which had one body and two heads, and going to the river to get a drink, ran into a twig, and one head went in one direction, and one head went in the other, and ultimately he died of thirst. I believe that we are one body, and it is my hope that on this visit we can contribute to the uniformity of view which will permit us to go to the river of peace and gain satisfaction from it. As an American, I take pleasure in seeing people around the world salute the American Revolution and the principles for which we fought. As Frenchmen, I know that you take satisfaction that people around the world invoke your great mottos of liberty, equality, and fraternity. What counts, of course, is not merely the words, but the meaning behind them. We believe in liberty and equality and fraternity, and we believe in life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. And we believe that the rights of the individual are preeminent, not merely the slogans and the mottos which are invoked across the globe by those who make themselves our adversary. We believe in the significance behind these great ideas. And therefore, I think it quite natural that in this most difficult decade of the 1960s, France and the United States should be once again associated together. And it is a particular source of satisfaction to me, as President of the United States, that we should be associated with President de Gaulle. He stands now as the only great leader of World War II who occupies a position of high responsibility. The others have gone, and he remains. And he stands true to the same concept which he fought for during the Second World War: the sovereignty of France, the community of the Western nations. And therefore, as a junior figure on this field which he has occupied for more than 20 years, I ask you to drink to the great captain of the West, your President, General de Gaulle.